A huge, important cup win today by Barcelona, who went against Racing Club, a very, very complicated rival, as it is very regularly in this tournament. Copa del Rey is extremely difficult because it's a one-off game. You have an off day, you don't come to play, you don't come fully focused, full intensity, and a team from a lower division, a team that is an underdog, can easily upset a top team. We saw it yesterday against Real Madrid. Now, Real Madrid comes from a very different situation. They just lost the Super Cup final against Barcelona. They lost their coach. There's turmoil in the locker room, so it's a little bit different. But it doesn't mean that the same thing can't happen to a team like Barcelona. Today, Racing got very, very close. It was complicated, as always, with teams like this because they park the bus, they sit back, and they wait for chances to counterattack. In Barcelona's situation, what they usually do is they wait until the defenders, the fullbacks are up in the attack, and they wait for the two center backs to be in complicated situations, get distracted from an ongoing attack by Barcelona, and from one moment to another, they shoot a kickball, try to break the offside trap, and out of nowhere, a counterattack, and it happened many times today. Luckily, Barcelona's defense was on their game today. They stopped Racing from scoring several times, a lot of offsides, and a lot of goals that were scored that were later overturned by VAR because of the offside trap. The high line today was a complete success. However, there were moments in the game where the offside trap was broken, where Racing's players were very, very effective. They were onside, and if not for Joan Garcia or sometimes selfish mistakes by the Racing players, I think Barcelona would have had a way harder time winning today. The difference between Barcelona today and Real Madrid yesterday, however, is that Barcelona did offer a lot more in attack. They have a lot clearer ideas. They know how to attack. They know how to break down small spaces. They know how to break lines, especially with compact defenses, something that we've criticized Real Madrid a lot this season for not being able to accomplish. Maybe the lack of creative midfielders, maybe the lack of structure, the lack of tactics or strategy, or maybe overall players not really meshing. But when it came to Barcelona today, it was the exact opposite. Barcelona players know each other very, very well. They combine very, very well, and today we saw all of that. Both goals today came from counterattacks, and like I said, a few 1v1s that were saved by Joan Garcia could have easily been goals. Let's get into player performances. First, we'll talk about the defense. Today, the defense played the high line extremely effectively, extremely well. However, at moments, there were times where the Racing Club players broke through. If not for Joan Garcia, if not for the defensive players, could have been a lot worse. Like I said earlier, Barcelona today depended on bad decisions by the Racing players to not concede a goal. It could have been a lot worse, maybe could have taken it to extra time, but because of these mistakes, Barcelona was relatively safe. The defense today was very good on transition. When they recovered the ball, they were able to play through to the midfielders and restart their possession, restart their attack very effectively. And all the defenders, all four of them, plus the goalkeeper, played all 90 minutes today. Let's talk about players individually. Joan Garcia, extremely, extremely good game by Joan Garcia. He is at a moment right now where he defends, he makes a lot of saves just by purely being present. Players knowing that Joan Garcia is that type of player, is that type of goalkeeper, that sometimes serves enough to just intimidate them to making poor decisions, to taking bad shots, to overthinking, to second guessing themselves. And a lot of times, Joan Garcia takes advantage of those moments. Today he had 3 saves, one of them extremely important. I'm not sure if the play was offsides or not, but they didn't call the offsides. It was a 2v1, 2 players versus Joan Garcia. The player needed only to pass to the other player and score the goal. Instead, he tried to take it himself, but Joan Garcia was able to close him out. Huge save by Joan Garcia. I think if the player opted to pass it to his teammate, it could have been a sure goal. But either way, I don't blame him for wanting to take the shot himself. He could have made it. Any other person would have made it. But because Joan Garcia was there, because of Joan Garcia's presence, Barcelona is once again saved. Aside from that, Joan Garcia was very good with his feet today. Was able to take part in the possession when the team had to reset to open up the spaces. They'd pass back to the defense. And Joan Garcia was oftentimes next to Cubarsí or next to Gerard Martin to complete that second player role so that one of the center backs could move either forward or to the side and complete the circuit so Barcelona could start playing and attacking again. I give Joan Garcia an 8.5. Alejandro Balde. Today, I also give him an 8.5. A great game by Balde on the attack, taking part a lot, combining a lot with Rashford. He had great presence, 94% pass completion today by Alejandro Balde, a great game. And not only that, when it came to transitioning back to defense, Alejandro Balde was able to recover very quickly on defense. I think there were moments in the game where there were counterattacks by Racing Club, and Balde was able to recover his position, defend well, and be in the right space at the right time. Now on the other side of the field, on the right back position, Jules Koundé, great game. I give him an 8.0. He was good offensively. He was solid defensively. He played the offside trap alongside his teammates very well today. 8.0 for Jules Koundé. For Pau Cubarsí, I give him a 9.0. There were moments in the game where Racing Club were able to recover possession and try to transition to the attack, and Pau Cubarsí was on his man right away, not giving him any space, not allowing him to bring the ball down, winning a lot of high claims, winning a lot of 1v1s, and honestly not allowing Racing Club to develop any sort of attack on transition. Gerard Martin, I give him a 9.0 as well. He had a very similar game to Pau Cubarsí, but actually had a lot more activity in the game. Again, when Racing Club tried to transition, he was always there, always behind the defender, breathing down his neck and not allowing him to play, not allowing him to bring the ball down. Let's talk about the midfield today. Today, it was a completely alternate midfield compared to what Barcelona had brought on against Real Madrid in the Super Cup final. As we remember, in the Super Cup final, you had your starting three, which were Pedri, Frenkie de Jong, and Fermín López. Today, it was a completely alternate midfield with Marc Bernal, Marc Asado, and Dani Olmo, but they did it phenomenally. The most important part of this is that we get to rest our three starting midfielders for the league game this weekend, and it also allows players with a lot less minutes to get a little bit of their confidence back. We remember that Marc Asado had a great season last year. Marc Bernal unfortunately got injured very early on, but both of them were able to get a lot of minutes today, get a lot of rhythm today, and it was overall very successful. The midfielders on the bench, Fermín López came in on the 58th minute for Marc Bernal, who didn't do it really well. Pedri came at the 68th minute for Dani Olmo, and at the 85th minute, Eric Garcia subbed in the midfield for Marc Asado. Let's talk about the starters. Marc Bernal, I give him a 6.0. Not a lot from Marc Bernal. He was pretty good on defense. He had a few recoveries. He was good on possession, but didn't really offer much in terms of dictating the rhythm or being creative in terms of attack. He's a good midfielder. He's still young, 18 years old, but I think other midfielders in Barcelona are multifaceted, can defend, can attack, can dictate the rhythm a little bit better than Marc Bernal. I give him a 6.0. Marc Asado, on the other hand, I think this was his best game this season. He looked like the Marc Asado from last season, which we haven't really seen this year. I'm extremely glad that January 2026, he's back on the field, and he showed to be a really good midfielder and associated very well with both Marc Bernal and Pedri when he came on, Dani Olmo, and Fermín López. I give Marc Asado an 8.0. And lastly, Dani Olmo. I give him also an 8.0. Played a lot more freely compared to what he usually has to do. He was able to move around the attack a lot, try to find spaces, try to create attacks. Overall, very good, associated well with Marc Bernal, with Marc Asado, and most importantly, what he offers is quality. He might not be in the best 11 right now, maybe being substituted for Fermín López, but when he is a starter, he offers a very good quality, almost starter quality in an alternate midfield. Let's talk about the attack now. Solid front three, Lamine Yamal, Ferran Torres, and Marcus Rashford, giving rest to Robert Lewandowski and to Rafinha, very important players that had a great Super Cup final and offered them a little bit of rest, although they did come in later on at the 68th minute. Lamine Yamal, I give Lamine Yamal man of the match, a 9.5 for Lamine Yamal. He had the end goal, that's true, but besides that, it was through his side of the field where most of the attacks were coming. He was extremely dangerous. He was very fluid. He had those exciting dribbles, offered a lot in passing, and if not for small little details, could have had an assist or two. On the other side, Marcus Rashford, I give him an 8.0. Not too much from Marcus. He struggles to play really well when he doesn't have that much space, but what Marcus Rashford offered today was an attack very wide on the wing, able to open up the midfield and also give a lot of space to Lamine Yamal on the other side. That's why I give him an 8.0. He might have not been too dangerous on the attack, but what he offered positionally, he opened up the field for everybody else, and it allowed Barca to have a lot more space to attack. And finally, Ferran Torres, I give him an 8.5. He didn't touch the ball much, but his runs into space occupied the defenders a lot. He was creating chances just from running, and he gets that really important goal for the 1-0. A very clutch goal. Once again, Ferran Torres on the counterattack gets Barcelona the 1-0 and opens up the game completely for them. So in conclusion, Barcelona had a great game today. Yes, there were moments where Racing Club attacked. There were moments where I thought Racing Club could have gotten the 1-1, could have taken it to extra time, but I did believe overall that Barcelona were going to take this win and we're going to go through to the next round. The next round being the quarterfinals. Remember, the quarterfinal draw is on Monday, January 19th, and the quarterfinals will start Wednesday, February 4th. Now let's talk about possible rivals for Barcelona. Because there's no bracket, everything is a draw, Barcelona still doesn't know who the rival for the quarterfinal will be. But there are a few teams that made it through, and I want to talk about each one of them. For starters, Athletic Club Bilbao. Barcelona has played them twice this year, once in La Liga and once in the Super Cup, 4-0 and 5-0 respectively. I think Athletic Club could be a good rival to face in the quarterfinals, although when it comes to a cup match, a team that's been embarrassed, honestly, by Barcelona all season, I would kind of be scared to see their bad side. Real Sociedad is probably the most complicated team that we might face in the quarterfinals. I don't really want Real Sociedad. The last time we played, Barcelona won 2-1. Very slim margin. They took the win, but I think Real Sociedad is the type of team that can maybe upset, maybe tie you, and really complicate you, take you to penalties. I kind of want to avoid Real Sociedad. Another team I want to avoid, obviously, is Atlético de Madrid. Barcelona had to play them last year in the semifinals, 2 legs. It was very complicated. I think the first game was 3-3 or 4-4, something ridiculous. And then the last game was 1-0 in Atlético de Madrid Stadium. And Barcelona got it, but barely, with a Ferran Torres goal. That's a team that I think I want to avoid as well. Cholo Simeone's Atlético de Madrid is nothing to play with. Even though Barcelona usually gets the upper hand against that team, they could complicate things and they could offer an upset at any given moment. Some teams that I wouldn't mind facing, Real Betis is kind of in the middle. You know, I feel like they're kind of like Athletic Bilbao kind of thing. We beat them 5-3, but they scored a lot of goals on us. They were a complicated team. They have very good players. They have a very good coach. I think Real Betis is the type of team that maybe we want to avoid, but if we get them, I don't think I'll be too worried. Teams that for sure I want to see, obviously, is Alaves. We beat them 3-1. They're kind of a complicated team, a team that might complicate you on a cup night. Park the bus, really low block, try to get you on the counterattack, but Alaves doesn't have too much on the attack that I wouldn't necessarily be worried about in a cup situation. I think Alaves is a team that, you know, hopefully we can get in the quarterfinals. Valencia is a team that I would love to get. I think if we can pick any team, I think it would be Valencia. We beat them 6-0 earlier in the season. They're the type of team that really struggles against Barcelona, and Ferran Torres, who comes from Valencia's academy, seems to have his way with Valencia every time he faces them. I would be very confident going against Valencia. And then lastly, the team that should have been Real Madrid, but instead is a second division team. The only second division team to make it to the quarterfinals is Albacete. I don't know if I would want them or not. It would be very interesting to see Albacete in the next round, see what we can do in comparison to Real Madrid. You know, I don't like to compare, but I do like to compare. So it would be very cool to see Barcelona against Albacete, show Real Madrid kind of how it's done, but also have a second division team in the quarterfinals makes it a lot easier for Barcelona. Although they are a very complicating team, I don't know. And especially because they're a second division team, we would have to go to their stadium to play. I think Albacete is probably a team I would want to avoid. So I think out of all of them, Real Betis, Valencia, Athletic Bilbao, I think I'm looking at those 3 teams for quarterfinals, hopefully. But whatever comes has to come, and that's what it's going to be. So guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like, subscribe, let me know what you feel about in the comments, what you thought about Barcelona's display today. Very good game overall. I think Barcelona continues to be favorites in this tournament, but I can't help but think that Real Madrid might have lost their game against Albacete a little bit on purpose to really focus on the other 2 titles, La Liga, the Champions League. It seems like kind of a strategy that Real Madrid would pull off. So it'll be interesting to see if the Copa del Rey is possibly a tournament that ends up sabotaging Barcelona later on in the season. But, you know, we're still in the cup. We have a chance to win an extra trophy at the end of the season. So let's go. I'm still on the boat, and we take it game by game. That's the Hansi Flick way. That's the Barcelona way. That's how this team likes to manage their calendar. So we do it like that, man, game by game. So that was it for today. I hope you enjoyed the content, and I'll catch you on the next one.